Sadly, guys, I did not see Eternals again, and I want to because I know I will like it more the second time because this is not a bad movie. Okay, not a bad movie. It's just there's just certain things, and you guys saw in my full review, where I was like, that's just the weak parts, the weak, that middle section, just but that final act, so great, that was good. I was like, yeah, thank you for that. And it's kind of funny too, seeing people's reactions on the timeline, and I'm telling you what, I mean, when it comes to love stories. Everybody keeps on talking about the other one that was implied, not the one that was right in your face. And I'm like, these are people that are giving out positive reviews, everybody keeps on talking about those two instead of these two, and I'm like, yeah. What's happening, film friends? Dave the Film Junkie here. Time for the Eternals spoiler discussion. That's right. I'll try not to ramble on as I normally do, which I'm doing right now, which I'll stop. But I'm just saying, let's talk about this. And like I said at the beginning of this video too, it's kind of interesting to see people's reactions and then talking to friends and whatnot about this movie, because it's interesting. It's really interesting when it comes to, I think even briefly, Meg and I talked about it last night on our live watch. And we kind of shared pretty much like the same kind of review, I guess you could say. It was like, the fact of the matter is, like, it started off, it's like, all right, this is cool. And then all of a sudden, it just has this bloated, kind of boring middle section. And then when it gets in the end, it's like, oh, all right, that's pretty cool. We like that. We like that a lot. And you know what's interesting about the start of this? Because I love the fact that Chloe Zhao, like, totally went, all right, I'm going to have this slow scrolling backstory. This, and talking with people too, and I'm like, that's pretty cool, because it's, oh man, we've seen that before in other movies. Blade Runner, for instance, we've seen that, and it's kind of like, all right, she's really taking in that. And then all of a sudden it goes from, like, you hear kind of score stuff to, oh, let's just put in a Pink Floyd song when the Marvel logo comes out, and you kind of question, is that Feige? Little things like that, and I've seen a lot of people even compare it to, like, hey, you know what? I mean, obviously, there's stupid ass. Oh man, I tell you what, the MCU fanboys, the way they're dealing with this is, the whole, like, Zack Snyder is the blueprint, because Chloe Zhao was like, hey, yeah, I'm all about Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, Superman, and yes, Icarus is totally based off of that. And of course, the Marvel, the MCU fanboys, specifically the ones that hate Zack Snyder and try to just take jabs at him whenever they can. The way they're handling it is basically going like, well, it's the lowest rated Rotten Tomatoes MCU flick, so I guess that makes sense. Fuck you. I mean, Jesus Christ. But I also love how rent-free that guy lives in their heads. It's awesome. It's really awesome. But anyways, there's definitely that sense to it. But just talking to a lot of people, I saw people on the timeline that were seeing it, saying like, oh yeah, this is kind of like almost Watchmen-like. And I went, interesting. I went, okay, I could see it. Definitely. I could see the comparison. Is it as good as Watchmen? No. One of the biggest things, even before the movie came out, and they addressed it in that first trailer, was the fact that, like, where were the Eternals? Where were these gods, essentially, when we could have used them when fighting Thanos and every other thing, And that's where I always thought where it could have benefited with the series structure, because imagine an episode where these characters had to talk themselves out of helping during the other times, these big events that happen in the MCU. I'm like, can you imagine that? I mean, I know some people might be like, oh, it's going to be boring, but I'm like, well, if you do it right. I know, I get it, dialogue, and I'm talking about how that middle section kind of gets a little bit boring. I know, and I'm just kind of going by, but just imagine like an entire episode where maybe they reunite again, or something happens, or they're just kind of just going, should I help? What should we do? Because there are moments in here, especially with Druig, where he really wants to, like, hey, they're fighting in a war. My power is I can control their minds to stop. And he eventually does. That's when he walks away. Ajax is like, no, don't do it. And she's just like, but he's like, fuck this. And he does it. And he straight out just like, and that was a really good scene. Beautifully shot. Very awesome scene when Druig, he just controls the minds and just stops them from doing this shit. Very awesome scene. There's some really gems of scenes in this, but like I said, I just still think that when it comes to Ikaris, when it comes to Cersei, I'm just kind of like going like, they were just weak and just kind of dull. Did like the twist of the fact that, Thena is just basically going like, when she starts losing her shit, because she'll just lose her shit and start fighting everybody, and you're kind of going like, what the hell is happening here? And you finally realize, well, yeah, it's because her previous program, because essentially they are robots. Not like robots in the sense of just but they were developed to basically go to different worlds, so then these celestial beings can absorb the energy and then burst out of this world. And I thought that was cool, really cool. And then that they're programmed to do that, and they're only supposed to it's almost like they are basically, if you're gonna, I'm not gonna try to make any kind of correlation of what's happening right now, but it's like essentially they're like, okay, they are gonna fight off the viruses that get sent to these worlds, so then some prosperous, big, huge celestials can flourish, but that's the whole thing of the story, which I thought was pretty cool, because then they're like, well, wait a minute, we're going to let all these people just die. Earth is just going to get blown up. Fuck that. And obviously that's why there's a turn. And then at the end, when they take on that, and they all kind of bridge together and fight Ikaris, because obviously that was the other twist too, where he's totally devoted. You always have that soldier that's totally devoted to what he's supposed to do, and it is Ikaris, even though you don't think that's going to happen. But I think in one of the trailers, they kind of almost like spoiled that a little bit. If you actually go back and you're like, oh, wait a minute, yeah, you see little hints of there, right, that there, but I guess, you don't know what's really going on, but yeah. Stop doing that in trailers. Kingo's character just kind of walks away. After the whole Bollywood thing. And see, there's, again, when it goes to the series format, I just kind of go like, it could have benefited, seeing more of like how his life was and being in the whole Bollywood thing like that. But he just kind of walks, and he's not really present in the final act, which is kind of interesting. And again, that's Kamel's character. And again, I thought his assistant was better, because his assistant comes with him and is pretty much shooting everything. And yeah, those were those were kind of the cool moments, and even like what he would say in some of those moments too. And yeah, some of the humor it's cringy. I totally get it. There's a pie scenario that is very like interesting, and just some of there's certain with the scene with the saliva beer. There's like, yeah, beer made of saliva, and I'm just kind of going like, yeah, some of that part, I don't know about all that. But when it comes to the ending, of course, and they ask themselves like, what's the right thing to do? And that's what it comes down to. So I can see why people are talking about and doing some comparisons and stuff like that and really enjoying it. Yeah, totally understand that. I just think it just could have benefited from maybe even a longer movie. Maybe not even just a series, but maybe a longer movie, over 3 hours or something like that. But then again, people for some reason don't like that. The mid and post-credit scene of Eternals. Okay, let's talk about that, because I think I talked mainly about the initial movie, but let's talk about the mid and post. So we got the mid-credit scene, which is it's got Eros, whatever you want to call him, and it's of course Harry Styles, which I totally forgot, because I actually heard about it. It got spoiled for me, but I totally forgot. I was like, oh, are we gonna see Adam Warlock? Oh, no, we're not gonna see. And so we get introduced to him, and like I said, what was very, very annoying in my movie theater was the fact that they were little teeny boppers that were losing their shit, not because, hey, it's Eros, brother of Thanos, saying, oh my God, they're going to be taking that. No. It was just because it was Harry fucking Styles. Oh my God. I was like, holy shit. This is probably the only reason why they came to see this movie, because they knew he was going to be in it. It sounded like you were in a concert with I was like, wow, man, we still do this stuff? We still lose our shit and like do the, I'm like, oh man, humanity, gotta love it. Anyways, but so we have that introduction. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. I thought the post-credit scene was a little bit better, because we got Kit Harington, who's Dane Whitman in this story, and we find out, obviously if you look at some of the stuff you kind of just like research and whatever, we know that he plays a character called the Black Knight, and he has a sword that he opens up. He has a case, he opens up the sword, and he's looking at it, and he's all very nervous about it, and it's just like, oh, okay. So, and he even teases because to Cersei, he says like, that he has a family history. We don't hear it because something happens, because they get brought into space. to talk to another, I forgot which celestial being, to say like, hey, you guys didn't do what you were supposed to do. All right, well, I'll let it, go by right now, It's like, oh yeah, good, we get a sequel. So we get Dane Whitman, who opens it up, and then there's a voice. At first I was like, what is that voice? I was like, was that Sam Jackson? Was that Fury? And I went kind of like, no, because let's face it, Sam Jackson has a pretty damn distinct voice. Who was it? Well, the new Blade, Mahershala Ali. That's right. So I was like, oh, okay. So they're setting up some stuff that's going to be taking it to a darker place. And please, for the love of God, Feige, MCU, make it dark. And you're going to have to make some of this R-rated. I mean, maybe, right? I mean, Blade, come on. You're going to have to do that. But they're probably not to. You're not going to, because you know what's going to be the test is Morbius. Morbius is going to be the test because that's about, essentially a villain, but it's probably going to be like an anti-hero kind of thing, just like Venom. And, it's a vampire, and he's going to do some killing. It's going to be a very hard PG-13. They're going to test the waters with that, see what happens, which is interesting. And then they're probably going to be like, yeah, we're not going to make Blade rated R. Sorry, guys. We'll make it hard PG-13. We'll push it, but it's not going to be that. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But yeah, our first, our kind of introduction to Blade in the MCU. So that's going to be interesting right there. And I guess Chloe Zhao, she kind of pitched the post-credit scene. She wanted that, and that's one of her favorite characters when it comes to the Marvel characters. So that's pretty cool. So there you go, guys. That's pretty much all the spoilers discussions that I wanted to have in this video right here. So let me know your thoughts about it down below. What are you thinking about, like, when it comes to this and where it leads to, and when it comes to the Eternals? Like I said, it's not a bad movie. It just felt like it just needed a little bit more fleshing out. I don't know. Like I said, I think the series format would have benefited to it, but then maybe a longer movie. I don't know. Just talking with people and getting their opinions on it. And that's what I kind of, I'm still sticking with that. But I want to see it again because I know I definitely will enjoy it more than I did with my initial watch. Anyways, guys, hit that like, thumbs up button if you'd be so kind. Subscribe to the channel. If you want to become a member, hit the join button. Patreon's also there too if you want to support the pirate ship like that. Much appreciated. And then, of course, the Film Junkie closet down below for merchandise. All right, guys. Talk to you later.